Staying with France's victory over Morocco, it's time now for our press review, and I'm joined in the studio by Antonia Kerrigan. Antonia, you're going to bring us the reactions from the French paper. How are they celebrating this victory?
Well, let's start with the front page of L'Équipe, the sporting newspaper. A triumphant front page, I think you'll agree. This headline, à cœur joie, a field day for the French side, who they describe as dominating from beginning to the end and through to the semi-finals for the third time in a row. Le Parisien describe their play, the French team, as irresistible, while abroad it's also being lauded. The Daily Telegraph has this photo of Kylian Mbappé with the caption, "In for the kill," kill spelt K-Y-L, of course a reference to the star striker. This column in Catalan newspaper, El Mundo Deportivo, describes the French side as untouchable and says that's not just thanks to Mbappé, Doué, Olise and Dembele out in front, but a solid squad across the board. Morocco were, of course, no match for their defences, and it's a veritable exaltation of this winning French side. This, as of course, Spain could be France's next fixture, or maybe even France's next casualty in this World Cup.
I'm excited for that game coming up on Tuesday, which is also Bastille Day, going to be a big one here in France. All right, moving on, Antonia. Next to a scare over President Donald Trump's safety during the NATO summit in Ankara.
That's quite right. This is all about that Qatari plane gifted to the president earlier this year that occasioned so much controversy over potential conflicts of interest. Well, it now transpires that the new Air Force One lacks the defensive countermeasures of the previous model. That includes anti-missile defences, to name just one. Sources quoted by the New York Times say that they were surprised to see Donald Trump travelling abroad in it, perhaps even more so to a country that shares a border with Iran. And they say that security services, while he was out there in Ankara, urged him to fly home on the old Air Force One. This plane is bridging the gap between the previous Air Force One that was causing Donald Trump a certain amount of frustration about the shabbiness the shabby state it was apparently in, and the new ones that Boeing are behind on delivering. This Qatari plane has been described as unparalleled in luxury, and Donald Trump's version of this story is actually rather different. He said that he, in a way, took the hit going home in the old Air Force One so that this new swanky plane could tour army bases on its way back to America, because it's just that magnificent, was his word.
I guess we'll have to see which plane he takes on his next trip. We'll be keeping an eye on that. And this comes, of course, Antonia, we've seen banners at Ali Khamenei's funeral very explicitly calling for Donald Trump's death. The Wall Street Journal actually has an exclusive article on that topic.
Yes, the Wall Street Journal is an exclusive. It's quite a laconic exclusive. We don't have sources or very much detail, but the information is that Israel informed Washington of a fresh Iranian plot to assassinate Donald Trump. Donald Trump did say on Wednesday, "I'm on every list. I saw this morning, I'm on every single one of their lists. And so far, I guess I've been a little bit lucky, but that maybe doesn't last very long." Well, he seems nevertheless rather nonchalant and confident about his position on those lists regardless. But nevertheless, an exclusive from the Wall Street Journal that there might be a reason for being careful of which plane you take.
All right, definitely a story we're going to be following. Another story, Antonia, coming out of NATO that ended on Wednesday. The host, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish president, gave a parting gift to visiting leaders, and it was quite a strange surprise.
Yes, so to be completely clear about what the gift was, it's a gun, a vintage pistol. Each leader's name was engraved on it, and it came with a kit to clean it and 6 live bullets. There was also in there a note from the president exempting the present from the exportation, potential exportation taxes, etc., for it leaving the country. But that didn't really put to bed all concerns. Le Soir has this on the Belgian Prime Minister, who only discovered he had this gun on arrival. He didn't open the box until he got back to Belgium. He handed it straight over to the airport police. The Times has this piece that explains that, Prime Minister Keir Starmer was one of the first to realise he had this. He left it in Ankara so it could be decommissioned before taking it home, because to take it home would have been illegal. Ursula von der Leyen reacted, expressing her thanks to President Erdogan for the gesture and is looking to donate it to a museum. Of course, it is a vintage firearm. The 6 bullets in the case are what, of course, inspired this headline from The Times. Do they feel lucky? That's a reference to the Clint Eastwood film Dirty Harry, who, as he says, he can't remember if he's fired 5 or 6 bullets out of his gun, and asks his potential next victim if he's feeling lucky. I didn't necessarily have the reference, but I've learnt it as of today. The Canadian reaction was one of our favourites. So, of course, it's always difficult to get the tone right with presidents. I think we can all relate to that. Mark Carney felt a little embarrassed when he felt his offering was a little undermatched because he gave Erdogan maple syrup and came away with a vintage pistol, which apparently he would not be licensed to carry in Canada. So he's also looking to give it to a museum.
Yeah, I think I have to say I'd prefer the maple syrup. So Mark Carney gave a pretty good gift, actually. Antonia, thank you so much for that. That was Antonia Kerrigan with today's press review. Time for us to take a short break. Stay with us, though, if you can, on France 24. We'll be back in a couple minutes with another look at the day's news.